didn't see that at the first moment. He saw that. So then we went.
To where you were born.
We came to Entebbe where we left in 72 at the same airport.
Wow.
But coming back.
Wow.
And then my mother said, let's go to Kampala. Then,
oh, by the way, this is, was it still the old airport which had been shot during the Israeli crisis?
There's a film about it, I think, as well. Yeah, the same one, and the one we left.
Wow.
And then we went to Kampala, we went to Lugazi, we went to the Indian temples where my mother used, when she was not married, she used to go there and she used to live so. And then to Jinja. And we did everything. And I filmed my grandfather's house. Was still there. Nobody was living in it, but it was still there near the temple. And then he gave it to the temple just as a gift. Some very interesting sewing machines. I think this one is brother. And I remember from my childhood days that my mom in Uganda used to sew on puff or singer machines. And one was with the hand. One was, they were all not automatic, but hand driven, or with the pedal and with your feet like this. So it brings back good old times.
Sure. Oh, hello everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the SJ Show. I'm so excited to have you here, and of course, thank you so much for keeping up, not with the Kardashians, but with me and my wonderful guests that we've had so far. Can you believe it? 1 year of the SJ podcast is coming soon. We started in August 2022 and here we are, almost August 2023. Thank you so much. Remember, subscribe, like, and share with your friends, and of course, keep watching. Today, I have quite an interesting guest who has a very interesting story, a story that spans quite a number of countries. I'm so excited because I love the story itself. Rohit Vyas. How do I pronounce your surname?
Rohit Vyas, exactly.
Vyas, wonderful. Rohit is of Indian descent into Africa. Let's start right there. Where were you born?
Hi, thank you for having me, and wonderful to share some stories and talk with each other. So I was looking forward, and now it's there.
It finally happened.
My name is Rohit Vyas, and well, I think life is a journey for everyone, right? For you and me, for everyone, listeners, and I can tell. I hope to share something about my story today, and it started in India long time ago, but but then I was born in Africa, in East Africa, in Uganda to be specific.
Uganda.
And well, that was in the 60s.
Yeah.
And then my father was there, my mother, they were married, and in Uganda.
Oh, they were married in Uganda.
There was a huge, big community of Asian Indian people.
Yeah, by the 60s,
They're very good usually in doing business.
Business, yes.
And economics, so they were... So there was a thriving community in Uganda. Uganda was thriving actually quite well, after independence. And then there was the story that Idi Amin Dada, maybe you heard of him. He came into power, military army.
Very cool.
And then suddenly there was no parliament, and everything was nationalized. And then he had a dream he told on national news. He thought he was told to that Asians had to leave the country in 3 months.
Gosh.
So that's 90 days.
Mhm.
And how you do it doesn't matter, but just make sure you do it. And then so suddenly, we're talking like the road changed, and they can be very quickly.
Yeah.
So that's life, and
this is in 1972, by
yeah,
the way, when the
1972,
Indian
exactly,
says,
exactly.
"Get out."
Not a lot of people know, but there's some people who are a bit senior or older. They know, or maybe they read something about it.
Mhm.
So that then we left, and I came with my mother and the other siblings. We came to England because my mother had a British overseas national citizen. I think it's called Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, England was not waiting. Great Britain was not waiting for us.
I've heard stories that it's. I guess it's similar to. I like to make a comparison of that era, the arrival of the Moroccan community in the Netherlands and the arrival of the Indian community in the UK. And the European populations are like, whoa, these people who are arriving do not look like us.
That's one thing, they don't look like us. But the other thing is, what you have refugees nowadays. The first day was from Syria. A lot of people, right? With conflicts in certain areas creates people have to migrate and move. Huh?
Yeah, to safety.
Flee. Yeah, they fled. Country. So we have the pretty much the example of Syria, and now recently Ukraine. So you see what happens in a society like the Netherlands, that people say too much people. What do they do? So it was in the 70s. There was when we came, there was an economic recession in '74. Just before we came, things were not going well. So what happened was that there were national parties and even some racist parties, like White Power movement. At those days were those parties, and they were really, demonstrating like Asians go home. So I really remember when we came. When I came to Heathrow,
how old
when
were
I came
you?
to Heathrow, I was 8, probably 7 or 8, and I came from Uganda directly. Kampala, we quite from Entebbe, actually the airport is just off.
By the way, Entebbe,
and then we came from via Egypt. I remember we were in the plane, first time in a plane. And nobody chose for this journey or flight, but we had to, right?
Yeah.
So and then it was
leaving everything behind.
Yeah, it was you just knew it was a single flight out, and you were not going to come back.
You're not coming back.
So and I remember sitting in the plane. So every 15 minutes or so, one plane was leaving one plane, because in 3 months, 100,000 people, 80 to 100,000 people had to leave 3 months. So there was a huge, lots of flights came and went. Wow. So every 15 minutes. So I remember, and my mother recalled, that we didn't have even time to say bye-bye to my father, but he thought we would have a flight later. But then they said, it's now, and just go. And then we were pushed into the aircraft, and I was sitting there, my brother was there, my mother was there, and I was a bit frightened, because I thought, we're going,
what's going on?
And we're separate in a plane, and then he makes a lot of sounds, and you're a kid.
Oh my goodness! I'm not even thinking about that. That this is in the 70s. It's not the quiet aeroplanes.
No, the Boeings, I think.
With the.
And then the first time, and then you go very and then you go very. Might be a Boeing 747. It was the first time, so it's a very overwhelming experience. Afraid, and then we leave in 3 months. Suddenly, everyone is packing. So it's, and you don't understand as a 7-year-old boy. You don't understand what's happening. And you were born there. You're going to primary school, and then suddenly things happen. So, but we left, and then as a child, you don't look back.
Yeah, yeah,
We came
yeah.
to London
Yeah.
and then went to the boys' high school. They were separate schools. Boys and girls. John Kelly Boys
Where was that?
was in London.
Outside London or
no,
inside?
northwest
Okay.
London.
Okay.
So
Nice.
Kilburn, actually, if people might know. And then, so it was, coming into, landing on Heathrow with my shorts.
Was it
and
cold?
everything. It was, I think, February, and I just had this short. We didn't have any coat.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we got a coat from the refugee camp. They collected for us. And then on the spot at the Heathrow, you could go and choose a coat, and something was till my knees, so it was too long. But at least,
No, but then you are literally arriving in the middle of a winter month with a short and a t-shirt.
yes. And then on television, you see all demonstration. Asians go home, and then, so it was not welcoming leaving, and it was, and not welcoming also not on arrival.
Wow.
In India, because people asked often, like, what did India do? Because you're descendant you're originally from, but India at that time had millions of people, just like now. It's quite overcrowded, and then as well. So they were not waiting for, to be honest, they were not waiting for 100,000 to come more and
Just
stay.
like that. Yeah.
Actually, India didn't care.
India,
To
I
be
can
honest.
imagine. I can imagine.
They had their own problems, and they were a big, vast scale.
Yeah.
So we were there, and then my father came later
Mm.
through a refugee camp
I see.
in Vienna
I see.
from the UNHCR.
I see.
Because
How much later? Within that year or a little
more than 1 year later, and we didn't know if we would see our dad
Wow.
anyway,
Wow.
because there was military rule everywhere, army,
Yeah.
and he was quite skilled, so he was allowed to stay because high skilled people. Because if there would be a brain drain, right? People will, if you send everyone away
Instantly.
with the money will be gone, but
Yeah.
that was frozen, so you couldn't take the money. But then the knowledge and care will leave. The skilled people will go. What happens if the skilled people go,
Yeah.
right? So that's not very efficient.
Wow.
So he could stay, but then he saw nothing will happen. We will not be back. And
He also fled.
Yeah, my father remember, the local Ugandan colleagues and staff, and they were really crying. Like, why are you leaving us? You just stay, because we work together, and there's nothing like you are this and we are Ugandan, we are Asian. There's nothing for us. There's nothing like that. It was kind of brotherhood. But there's a certain decision, and that's political.
Yeah.
You're just a human somewhere living. So that.
Oh, you're being polite. Idi Amin was just being batshit crazy.
Yeah, but lots of Ugandan people had lost their lives. Much more than Asian, because most of the Asian fled.
Yeah.
But what happened to the parliament?
local-
Especially the local, and
Yeah.
the economy went down. So who was targeted actually the most? I think the people of Uganda.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've read 300,000 people died. Local Ugandans.
Yeah,
in-
exactly.
in-
Or
in-
nearly
in-
500,000 might be.
Yeah,
Maybe,
it
because
should be
nobody
more.
would know.
No.
So that's tragic. That's tragic. But this happens. As you see, even nowadays it happens. But then so we left, and I was young. So when you are young at 7, you have attachment, but you don't have a lot of memories. So you're quite into making fresh new memories.
Yeah.
And then London, it's nice, going to school. I remember the custard we had, the English custard is very famous.
God.
And the canteen food at school, that was nice. That was new. We didn't have that in Uganda. So and seeing white people and getting used to white people, because everywhere you go, the white people. We didn't see that in Uganda, and not even in India.
Oh,
So-
really? Okay.
So and then we were the minority.
The certain minority, yeah.
Yeah.
Were the black people in London at that time?
Colored, yes, I think there were just like now, like I think it's called Soho area. There's more Jamaican and West Indian, as they say, people from descent, and former colonies probably because UK was the biggest colonizer in the world. So then people come to your house as well.
Apologize for it. We'll get into that.
If you go to other people's house, then people come and also stay at your house. You know, it can be like I come at you, but you can't come at my house. That doesn't work.
Clearly.
So it has always been a star attraction, you know, from the whole world, UK. Somehow everyone, you know, we have this idea and still have. I think when you go outside Europe and you talk with people in India, in Africa, or in Arabic countries, like you know, you have to be there, and it's just true. Some things are, you know, some basic needs are okay here.
Yeah, I see.
That's true.
So how long did you live in London for?
More than 1 year at school, getting acquainted, living in Europe, cold, freezing. London, always smoking like something was burning.
Oh, really? How come?
I think because of the chimneys, etc. So in the 70s. So always, when I go to London and I smell this smell and think, yes, this is London.
I see.
This is typical London.
I see. Okay.
I don't have that in Paris or in Berlin or you know, it's very specific.
I see.
So and then my father through Vienna, he could come to Holland for living.
Oh, so he came to the Netherlands.
He chose for the Netherlands and not for UK. There was a reason for that. He said, if everyone goes to the UK, it will be full and there's a lot of unemployment, and these are the begin 70s. Economic recession. Recession 74, right? The oil recession, you might know. There were in Holland, there were carless Sundays.
I remember it now. I've heard of it.
You were not allowed to drive your car because one day would save a lot of oil.
Yes.
There was an oil crisis. So that's quite, you know, it's like Corona measures. Quite unusual.
Quite drastic. Yeah.
had to. There was no choice.
I see.
So my father said, let me choose another country where I can have some perspective and a future, you know, as a head of the family, a man, you know, traditional family. And he said, I have to succeed again because I have a wife and 4 children.
Also there were 4 of you.
So then he didn't choose for the Netherlands, he chose for Philips.
Oh wow! And what was bigger
because
than
he
Philips?
was engineer. Philips he knew. He said if you go to Uganda or Africa or you go to Asia and India, everywhere is Philips. But nobody knows where is this country, the Netherlands, but everyone knows. Everyone knows where is Philips.
Philips was the Samsung at the time.
That was quality.
Oh
So he said, I'm technical. He had a good papers for technical. I think technopolitics he did in India. So he came here and started all over again on the basic level. And then family reunion was possible. So
you guys had to leave the UK.
And then I remember arriving at Schiphol Airport, and my father had a big car. He hired a big car, so he could get his family to the refugee camp because he still lived in a refugee camp
at the time
near Apeldoorn. And that was also excitement coming here and people talking Dutch through throat and we were thinking what kind of sound is that? We never heard of it. And so, you know,
this is the G in Dutch. It's pronounced
So it's like, is everyone, has throat problems here? So, and then, well, then, there was 7, no, I was 8, getting into 9, and when you're a child, things just happen and you go with the
You
flow.
go with the flow.
That's the easy thing of being a child.
Yeah.
Traumas for adults are different than
That's so
for children.
different.
Children are more flexible, they're more dynamic. So
not many problems.
I had a few, of course, because everything is new. Another country differently. Another. Then you tend to know a little bit more about England, and your English is improving. And then you come here, you start all over again.
Another new language.
And then, but I couldn't understand like my siblings with at school. But children, they just play.
Yeah.
And
language is easy to learn for kids.
And sometimes you don't need a language for everything. You can just play,
Yeah.
So before I knew, we lived. What I told you earlier, when you migrate to another country, you first migrate from continents, which happened to be us.
Wow.
And then when you go to another country where you're probably going to stay longer, then you do a kind of local national migration. So we stayed in where did we stay? I think we stayed we came to Apeldoorn, Bennekom. That was the refugee camp in a summer house. We spent winter in the summer house with one heating. So this was really everything was new. And then we went, I think, to Bennekom. We went to Almelo. Then we went to Hoorn. And then we had also Spijkenisse and Rotterdam somewhere also. So it was moving like east, west, north, south.
All pretty much.
And doing new schools again, joining and then leaving,
New
and
friends.
joining and leaving. The only thing you had was your family. Right? So this is typical what refugees experience is, right? Even nowadays.
Even nowadays there are lots of up and down.
Exactly, the as it say there, as it say. We had one lucky thing. We were lucky, I must say, that because we were kicked out, we were formal refugees. There was no doubt about, are we or are we not? And there's no way back because 90-day guarantee, you have to leave. That's a guarantee. And no guarantee back, but guarantee to you will leave. So there was no point of returning. When my father was at the UN camp in Austria, there were quotas over the European countries, and at that time, and I understand even nowadays, there are invited refugees every year, and that's always the amount of nearly 500 people. I think it's even up to date.
Since back then.
Same thing. 500 is nothing. In 1 year,
it's quite a handful.
It's a drop in an ocean.
And very big of 100 million displaced people.
But you must say, if we were the 500 from 1973, I think, the year after, then we were quite privileged in that way. So I always think, we were blessed in that way. So always, in life, don't always think of the negativity, what happens to. But there's always something, what also comes in life. It goes with the flow and helps you a little bit further. And this did, I think, this did. Though there was trauma, though there was, where to flee.
So much movement.
And then the family was reunited, which is also not very. It doesn't happen always.
No.
People, you lose people. People die.
In migration.
People get lost.
Absolutely.
So I've never been a very negative person, or I tend to be optimistic, in things, even if things don't go
Better to be optimistic.
in life, because that brings you further, huh? Because that's the path is not always with flowers, as they say, but sometimes there's stones
And thorns.
and thorns. But if you keep on and you stick to your own dignity, I would say, and be loyal to yourself and believe in yourself, and make sure also other people who care for you, your family, your friends, who really believe in you as well. So that helps when you get disappointed or you lose a bit faith, which happens with very human.
Pretty much everybody.
It can happen, but don't let it happen too long.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then
Don't let it happen too long. Don't lose your faith for too long.
it can happen. We are humans, we are not robots or superhumans. We're just very vulnerable.
Oh,
But in our vulnerability, I think we can be very strong.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. So that and then I did my secondary school
And by the way, you are
Etc.
number what in the 4 children?
the 4 children, sister, older sister, then the older brother. Always handy to have older siblings.
Yes, I
Because
can imagine.
what's on their shoulder is, we are not Dutch, we are from outside Europe. Our culture is different, and it does matter if you are the oldest. They always say you give the example for the rest.
Yeah, the second parent.
So or sometimes second parents, and actually my sister and actually we were often in the role of parents, because my parents came. I took up Dutch very easily.
I see.
Yes, when you're small, you pick.
You
My parents didn't. They find it up till my father doesn't live anymore. He passed away, but my mother doesn't speak Dutch or not. So when they speak, people don't understand her. So we do
Dutch is hard.
we do the belastingdienst.
For them.
We do the text.
The text.
Everything, all the paper from the local
Pretty much.
the authority, the gemeente. We do everything. We did that from the age of 12.
Are you serious?
So you said becoming a bit of parents sometimes.
Wow.
And then when you went to the school.
Oh yeah, there was no Google Translate.
No, nothing. There was nothing. No, there was just everything on paper and write down. And I remember when I was in the primary school or second, that we went or secondary school. The parents were invited to come over.
For the consultations.
Yes, and then usually your parents go and talk with your teacher, but we had to go and then translate. And if you said Rohit is good in this and very bad in this, and then I had to translate that message. So usually they say it's not a good thing that when you're talking about someone, that person has to translate thing as well.
It gets lost.
And also it's not it puts a bit of psychological burden on a child that you have to
translate for your own parents.
And
about
and
yourself.
also the good things, but the bad things. He's bad in this and bad in that, and oh my God.
Were you translating the bad stuff?
I was quite honest. Some might think, I don't know, my brother might not tell everything, but I told actually everything. So my father was a very strict, and he always said.
Also, he's sitting there and you're translating.
Yeah,
it.
no, he didn't come. My father was head of the.
Work.
He sent his wife. So that those days they say, oh, this is for the wife.
Mother.
And then my mother goes, and then my mother didn't tell everything because she knew he's very strict. And then he would say his mantra if something went wrong, and if you did something wrong. My bike was stolen, but he mended the bike, and he worked on the bike for 3 months, and then it was stolen because I forgot maybe to do the lock right. So he got very angry, and then he said, always remember, why did I come to this country?
Oh,
I didn't come for
that was
myself.
the mantra.
I came for you. So, and you look what you do to me. I can understand that from his point of view.
Yeah, from
because
a first
he left
generation
everything.
migrant. Yeah.
You know, from there he went down to basic level, and then he said, so there's always a burden. You see that these always in migrant families and refugees, specific.
Yeah.
That, there's a lot of stress and what do you say, kind of that you have to succeed in life.
Oh yeah.
And succeed not only for yourself,
for the children,
but also for your parents. That you can say you made an offer, right? You made a sacrifice. And I will show that the sacrifice was not in vain.
I see. Yeah, because in your case, you are more of a second generation migrant, even though you migrated with them, but because you were young.
So we were their children, so we were the second generation. So we also had our youth, and we also wanted to do things which my father, being very orthodox family, he would say, no, remember family values and this and that and that. God. So that makes that's. Yeah. So it was.
And you're trying to integrate.
And you're trying to and then I remember, but this might be for people who've been living longer here, or who also came as a child, that at home the values are the very
pretty much
Asian and even African, like family minded. Respect elders. Don't go in discussion with elders, and when you go to school, the education is be assertive, ask a lot of questions, and always ask why.
Which is a complete U-turn.
It is North Pole, home, and South Pole in outside home.
Every 24 hours.
And then can you imagine what happens? So sometimes you don't tell things at home because you know they will not like it, or they won't accept it, or the choices you make. So this was, and I was from the four, I must say, I was the one who asked the most questions.
I can imagine.
So when I opened my mouth, then my father said,
this child.
You have too much questions, and he will say, I will answer 3. And then stop, because I don't have any time for all your questions. There are questions and questions and questions.
Oh my goodness!
But this is what we learn at school. Question everything. So there was it was a bit frustrating, I must say, and I was trying to cope with culture home. Yeah. And when you left the door and you closed the door outside, it was different. The values were different. So that was quite difficult, yeah.
Wow. And how were teachers then? Were they finding it... Okay, not even teachers. At that time, were there as many migrants of color in your school, in your neighborhood?
No, we're talking about 70s?
70s, yeah.
So that means in my class, I was the only colored student. And in the school, there were few. There were migrants and some refugees, some from Suriname, some from Indonesia. From the 75, there was the
independence.
So there was but that was after 75. So sometimes you were bullied.
I can imagine.
Like you have color, so they would go, especially around Sinterklaas, start like Zwarte Piet, So then the first I said, what is Zwarte Piet actually? I don't know Zwarte Piet from, where. So what does this mean? And I thought, well, okay, it's a quite nice thing they do. They bring presents, and then the Santa Claus comes in. But then later you think there's something wrong with this celebration, stating Santa Claus, because why is someone, always, as they call Zwarte Piet, the black face?
The black face.
Why is he, set? Why is he put like that? I could not figure out. I talked with people when they said, "Oh, he went through the chimney and that's why he's black." But I said, that's very simple. That's something, it's not. And then you come to know, like, the connection.
And the himself comes through the door.
Yeah, and Sinterklaas is always the head, and he has these servants, as they say, and those are try to pick the blackface.
The blackface.
So, but then you say but then when I went, I was teenager, then I started asking questions because I was very good in asking questions. And then people say, we don't know, we just came to the chimney. But I said no, but that it doesn't satisfy me. That the answer. Yeah. So then it came like, but there is a history of colony, and people of color, black people of color, have always been a position. So then there was a more political, social awareness, like, it's not a celebration of Sinterklaas, but there's more behind it. And people, up till now, you see all these discussions that people don't want to connect what's behind this. Yeah. Some people do, I must say. Some Dutch people, they see. But some people say it's a children's celebration and leave it.
It's harmless.
It's harmless, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's a good point, because this one time, I think 3 years ago, I was sitting at a restaurant. I was bored. I thought, let me just go to a restaurant by myself. So it was Sinterklaas Day, and people come in, Dutch people come in blackface. I was the only black guy, and all the Dutch people froze, and everybody turned to look at me. So in my mind, I'm thinking, so everybody knows there's something wrong with this.
Yeah.
But had I not been there, everybody would have celebrated.
And it becomes very uneasy, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
That's what you see.
The guy stopped dancing, stopped singing, and just left.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, in their mind, I could see everybody, being relieved that, okay, there was a black guy in this restaurant. And
or a person of color, at least, huh? Mm-hmm. And what you see, I think, this is when people, when the majority, the minority, the privileged people, less or non-privileged people, this is where it happens, right? It becomes uneasy. And when you talk about being privileged, then people say, I don't know what you're talking about.
What privilege is.
Which privilege, there's always this, and then sometimes you choose your battles, like, okay, I'm going to, start a battle here. But sometimes, I also meet people who say, yes, I am privileged, and I'm aware of it. At least you acknowledge it. It's very important.
It is.
I think it starts with acknowledgement, right? But I think we're at the starting point of this. And then if you look in the world structure, there is a shift. I think now, this is what happens with the anti-slavery movement, and the king, in the Ooster part.
Shout out to all the young Dutch activists. The Netherlands has formally, the king of the Netherlands has formally apologized. What's your opinion about that? What's your thought since you've been here for a while?
Long awaited, but better sometimes than never.
Absolutely.
And I must say, I talked with a lot of people. I saw on television, and I read the discussions that it was genuine, but it was necessary. There was no way of not doing it. So, but I think by apologizing, we started.
All right.
This is a start.
It's a start.
This is a formal start. When something happens, if something happens on the street and someone apologizes, that's the first thing, right? And then you can go further from that. So I think we started, but it's good, and everything was happening, and dialogues in this country, and you see in other countries happen things like this happen.
We're closely watching the other European royal families.
Yes, so it becomes uneasy everywhere in the royal palaces.
But
it's
pressure.
good. If there's uncomfort and if there is uneasiness, look at it and feel it.
Feel it.
Don't deny it and don't look away.
Why are you uncomfortable? Well, why?
Exactly.
Why is it burning?
And it's okay to be uncomfortable because people just don't want to be uncomfortable. You know, because it's uncomfortable to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
So, but it starts with because if no one would feel uneasy, nothing will change.
We would never change.
So let's hope for ourselves a lot of uneasiness,
Yeah.
but not to polarize, you know, but to look at each other in the eyes
Yeah.
and not only say sorry, but what does it mean to say sorry?
Yeah.
Why are you saying sorry? For what? And what does it mean for the other party to hear someone is apologizing? Right?
Absolutely.
This is important.
That's amazing. Well, speaking of sorries, it's been more than 50 years that the Ugandan community left. Okay, maybe left is the improper word. We were kicked out of Africa.
Had to go, yeah.
Had to go.
A new horizon.
How is the Indian community feeling about that? Are you connected with the Indian community in the Netherlands?
Sure.
Because I know there are lots of Indian expats who moved to the Netherlands, so they might not have that perspective of Indians who came from Africa. How is that dynamic?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Because when 50 number was coming on the road, there was some movement in the community because maybe sometimes if uneasy thing happen, talking about uneasiness, then you tend to turn around or not turn around and look at, you know, in front of you and where you're heading, and sometimes it's not nice to look back. Because there's pain, there's hurt, right? There's expectations which didn't come out, which is life.
Yeah.
And pulling yourself together and go further, and it's much easier to put your nose in the direction you're walking.
Yeah.
But the community, there were people who said we have to evaluate. We did what we could do everywhere. The community went, by the way, for your information, to Canada. So they started in England, UK, and then they went through Canada, United States. There was Europe, different countries, and then there was later there was New Zealand and Australia, but much later. And some people went to India as well. So there is a lot of experience. So 50 years later, how did they do? How did they thrive or not? And in what way? And in what was their experience? And then we have an e-community now, of course, and we have friends and family, but you have the internet, you have all the social media. So there are some websites, and then people said, so in England there was where the most people are from the former community. They had events. They came to, and they were eating matoke.
Oh, really? Matoke, Ugandan staple food.
Yeah, the national food, and they were, they were thinking about the nice times.
So
but
nice.
Also, thinking of Uganda, and then also they did events, so it was more in that level. But some also had discussions, shared photos, shared films or whatever, and some had been back in the 50 years because it was possible to go back, especially when Mussolini came. I know it's a different story now. Now at this moment it's a different story, but when he came in 86, I believe. The first years he did also things which were quite okay for Uganda. In his first years,
the richest man
now
in Uganda is an Indian who came back, who left and then came back.
Industrialist, exactly. So, but he so the same. By the way, I went back.
Wow, really? When?
Well, I had a plan to go to see the nature of Uganda. That was the Queen Elizabeth National Park. It's beautiful, like the Kenyan parks, the big, and the South African parks, right? and nice. So I said, let me see the big five or
Yeah.
big three in Uganda,
Well,
and
very
also
good
go
five.
back to the country. But then it shifted. Like, I'm not going there for the nature. Actually, my agenda is to go back where I was born, because I'm Ugandan.
You were
And
born in Uganda. You
So,
are as
yeah.
Ugandan as it gets. So you were born in Kampala, right?
No, I was born outside Kampala in Lugazi, which is
Okay, I've never heard of
maybe
it.
45 minutes.
Outside of Kampala.
So, and people, I meet the
Yeah.
community here.
Yeah, there's quite a
And
large
when you
Ugandan
say
community.
like you are born in Lugazi, then people look at you and say, "You are born in Lugazi? How do you know Lugazi? Nobody knows Lugazi. Only
I've
when
been
you're
doing
local.
it, I didn't
Local.
know
When you're
Lugazi
local, you
either.
know."
Yeah.
So they say, then I start a few words of Swahili, and then they're like,
it's like, okay.
flabbergasted. Oh, I'm sure you're from. And then I say, that roundabout when you go
Oh,
from
wow.
from Kampala to Jinja, there is a roundabout, and there's a post office. There used to be a station there, and then and not far there's this colony, and there we lived. And then they say, this roundabout, because
Yeah.
they have been from Kampala to Jinja,
My friend is from Ginger, so I know
So
the
then,
roundabout
they say,
as well.
but you know too much.
Yeah.
You have to be. But
I get the
do.
same thing as well. And I was there in Uganda as a tourist. Like, why do you know Uganda so much? I'm like, no, I love
It's a
this.
beautiful. It is.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Not the country itself, but the people.
All
I
the
think the most warmest, sincere, really people of Uganda. I think I can really, really. When I went back, I could
Which
feel
year
the
did you
vibes.
go back? Oh, Uganda is a vibe. I always tell most
Yeah.
people ask me if the Dutch people would ask where do you recommend that we visit for holiday. I always say go to Kampala. You would have a
Yeah.
blast. I
And
went
you
with
could go
lots
to
of
the
Zimbabweans.
Nigeria Falls. I
Yeah.
think there is. You could. There's a lot of nature.
Yeah, the
And
nature
the
spectrum,
north is
yeah.
different than south, east, and west, and it's the Kenyan border. This is a beautiful country.
So
the Pearl of
diverse.
Africa. It
It
is true.
really is the pearl.
It
of
is true.
Africa.
It is really true.
Which year did you go back?
It was in 1990. Let me see, 1996, 97, I think. Yeah.
I see.
I wanted to go with my friend, and then
Mm.
I was talking like with my parents, like, oh, I've planned this trip, and I'm going to see this nature, reservation, and then my mother was going up and down in the chair, and then my friend said, "Your mom look like she wants to say something." And I said, "Mom, why are you feeling so uncomfortable?" And then I said nothing. But then, and so I went home with my friend, and then my friend said, "I think your mother wants to come with us." So I said, "Okay." I was so in my story that I didn't see what was happening. He saw that. So the next time I said, "Mom, this is our program. This is final. And do you want to come?" And in 2 seconds, he said, "Yes."
Oh my gosh!
I
if
was
you-
like shocked.
If you hadn't asked.
She was just waiting to be asked, and the question, and I think I didn't finish my question, and she said yes. And then I said, "Okay, when you asked your father or your mother, then your father is it. So you asked your father, right? With us, you start actually with
Start
your
with
father."
the father.
Yeah, I was doing the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh, my father is very strict.
Yeah.
When we go with him, it will be a different journey, but
Yes.
let's see."
Let's just
And,
ask him.
and then he said, "No." I said, "Yes, no." Two people
Two people.
married long time ago and different. And she said, "No." I was there, and a part of me is there still, and we had to leave. And my father, he didn't say anything. He said, I can't handle it." He said he
Oh,
was a heart
wow.
patient also, and he just did like it is too much emotion, and then he left the room.
Oh wow, that's deep. That's deep.
So
But you guys went with your mom though.
yes, so soon we booked a ticket, but then something else happened because my friend said we can go whenever we want. What you should do is go with your mother. Actually, yes, your mother doesn't come with you. You go with your mother because she will get you to the house and say, "Here you were born."
Wow.
There's only one person who can say that.
There's only one person.
So then it was in a few weeks everything was arranged.
Yeah.
My father stayed home. My friend stayed home. I booked and
What
I
a
went
fr-
with
what
my
a
mother.
friend! What a friend, by the way.
Yes, I must say, yeah. That's a friend who sees more with his with the third eye.
Yeah.
I would say. And I was in my enthusiastic, energetic that I mindset that I didn't even see that at the first moment. He saw that. So then we went
to where you were born.
We came to Entebbe where we left in 72 at the same airport.
Wow.
But coming back.
Wow.
And then my mother said, "Let's go to Kampala." Then,
by the way, this is was it still the old airport which had been shot during the Israeli crisis?
There's a film about it, I think, as well. Yeah, the same one, and the one we left.
Wow.
And then we went to Kampala, we went to Lugazi, we went to the Indian temples where my mother when she was not married, she used to go there and she used to live and then to Jinja. And we did everything. And I filmed my grandfather's house. Was still there. Nobody was living in it, but it was still there near the temple, and then he gave it to the temple just as a gift. So
that is incredible.
Yeah, and for my mother, it was very important to go back in the house of her father.
Special. Wow.
So this was down memory lane.
I'm glad she paced up and down, and that your friend noticed it. I guess maybe she was pacing up and down because she knew your father would not want to come.
Yes, and she knew that this usually, in Indian wives are, they follow their husband very traditionally. But here she had her own opinion, whether he wanted to go or not. She said yes, and her yes was for herself, as a person. Yeah. So then actually I was going with her.
Oh, now you're going. No, so now it's no longer your trip.
I'm not going, because I said, okay, I'll go and I take my mom with you. But then that was not the case. I was going with my mom, and she would take me along and show me all the places, and then go to one house. There's only one house in the world, and say, in this house, in this room, you were born. There's only one person who can say, I'm the witness.
Indeed.
So that was very special for me. I thought of all the siblings, I got the biggest gift, like the mother who took me back and said, in this house, in this room, you were born.
Wow. Amazing.
This is very existential thing in life.
Absolutely.
So that was very special. And then in 2000, story goes on. 2010, I believe, we said, let's do a family trip.
Oh, wow. How many now? 11 people.
Wow. Because my brother and sister have children, so they had their children with them. And then again we were planning, and then we asked my mother, do you want to go? Her answer is always yes. And then a particular question to my father. And it was like, I was thinking, let me think about it. And you saw, and then he said, yes.
Finally. How long did it take him to think?
No, he knew the life is, today
he had mellowed.
Yeah, you today we are here, and tomorrow you don't know what happens. At his age, he was getting into 70, end of 70, so
And aren't you glad he said yes?
So again the plane went, and again we did everything.
Yeah.
We took a camera. The
Yeah.
nephew of one of nephews of mine was making. He
Yeah.
said, "This is oral history being being made here."
Wow.
So talking, he asked my father, "Okay, you worked here, okay," and my mother, "You were going to this school, you know," and so he was and documenting and so he was actually he made a kind of oral history project of it.
Wow, that's amazing.
There's I think 5 video cassettes.
Footage of it. That's super cool.
Because my father is not among us anymore,
Mhm.
but you know we have he was asking the grandchild, you know, asking the grandfather like about where did you work, what was your life about, etc. etc.
That is amazing.
So that's a gift. Not everyone is in a position to do that, and we were. So I think very blessed in that way.
Wow.
So we have, and then we came back and we recorded sessions. My
Yeah.
sister and I, we did oral history here. We talked days, in the weekends. Often we went with a recorder,
Wow.
and then we talked with my mother, like before you were married, what was your life, and then after. So we know her whole history, and with my father we did the same. So everything is recorded. So I think this is important. If people are in a position to do that in life, don't wait and do it.
You know what you're reminding me? My grandfather used to tell me, "You need to find a camera, sit down and record me."
Exactly.
I never had the time. I never had the time. Yeah, and I had to leave.
And it has to be a certain time. Everything has to be right. Yeah. You have time. You have the assets. You have a recorder. You have we work.
But I had no excuse. This was 5 years ago, somewhere there. I had no excuse.
Is he still
He's still alive? Yeah,
Okay.
he's turning 98 in a month.
Don't wait. If it's possible, do it. Even it's online, or nowadays the demo means then.
It's still Thank you.
And ask him all the questions in the world you want to ask about. When you were young and before you married, so that's what we did, and there was some uneasy things as well in their life.
Come up,
and I was astonished. We are children. You don't share everything with your children, but the transparency they had both.
Oh, really? They were really into it.
Really. And these are not the people who do this every day. Give interviews and talk about their lives. I mean, we do all this oral history, this stuff. But they know storytelling.
Storytelling
From the villages in India and their grandparents. And it's very
important. They took it all the way back.
It's storytelling.
Good
that they know.
Lord,
but in a way, as we do now, we have a modern and we can use all these means.
Good Lord.
We have.
Good Lord.
What we're doing is also storytelling, right? And we use, but they know it from the villages.
I have to say that you mentioned storytelling. I literally get paid to do storytelling at work.
Yeah.
We do storytelling courses.
See how
we take it for
important
granted.
it is, and how valuable it is for people to share the story and being heard. I mean, you're asking me, so I also feel like someone is listening to my story and listeners are listening. But everyone, you and the listeners, all have their story. So it's very important to know the story and tell the story and share the story, right?
Got that. Important to learn the story, share the story.
Know the story, exactly, and share. I think that's because that. In our traditions where we come from, Africa, Asia, whatever, in Latin America, but also here, I think in the former days, people used to share, and when grandfather or grandmother or an auntie or maybe a neighbor said some stories, but not only family but often family, and that one day you're here, one day you're not here, and there are lots of wise lessons, I think, and that's the beautiful thing about this.
Speaking of India, have you been? Of course you have, or maybe not.
That's another journey.
Okay.
When you migrate, and if it's possible, I must say I'm in the privileged positions that I could go twice to Uganda. I could also afford to go there. Sometimes
it's a cost,
And we have still family in India. We always have, and up till now, my father and my mother's side, but more my father's side.
I see.
When I was 22, my father said,
Yes,
"How
of
can
course.
it be that you know there are letters from India and photographs from India, and they know you by photo, I know them by photo, but we have never met." He said they are integral part of your life. So what my father did, I think it was, and he found it very important that one by one he took, when we were 20 plus, one by one he took every child to Uganda. Oh, sorry, to India.
Yeah.
And to meet and greet with the family.
Yeah.
So here you are. You see them for the first time, and I was 22. Then you get this culture shock. India, culture shock.
I can imagine.
Living outside, brought up in Europe.
I can imagine.
I speak the language, but still the
You
culture.
do speak
Yes, my father said at home we speak our own
language.
Yeah.
I see.
Which is important, I think.
Yeah.
And then you were there, 22, and then you meet.
Which
your
year
family.
was that?
That was, oh my
80s?
God, somewhere in the 90s or 80s.
Yeah. Wow.
It must be 80s, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
But then you know what happens, that they listen to you, and they ask you, the whole family stands, and they ask you a lot of questions because they want to touch you, they want to feel you, they want to smell how you look, you know, like you're somewhere from alien from outside.
Oh my
And then if you talk, they get very quiet and they listen to, and they say, he speaks the language, and they say, speak more, and they start laughing. And I said, why are you laughing?
You have an accent.
You know what I said? You talk like the news reporter. You talk because I learned the language very formally, officially. And my father said, no slang. I will not learn you slang because you will only learn because there's no other way you can learn. You will learn what we. So they were very cautious in what they were using language, and no slang and no yelling, etc. So I didn't know all these. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to yell.
No, but you know what? That's quite an interesting thing, because even I can tell you nowadays for migrants who learn Dutch, and then when you have to speak with regular Dutch people on the street, it's like, how come you speak proper Dutch and people on the street speak slang?
Nobody speaks like in the book, right?
No,
and they said, this is not like this is book, or then they said that no, this is news, the news reporter,
Absolutely.
you know, the national television.
Makes sense.
And I said, it felt a bit like, is this a compliment or not? And I said, no, it's like someone from Alien, you know, that comes and talks. So, but that was, and then we laughed together, and then I learned you know, the everyday language they talk. So that was nice. So, you know, getting acquainted now, since then I've been often to India, and on my own I traveled through India, also learning India, not being there, born there, but getting the culture from my parents.
And where were your parents born? Which part? I know India is pretty big.
India is as big as Europe. If you will cut it and put it on Europe, it will be
and then a billion population plus
1.3 now.
1.3 now.
It is like from Stockholm to Sicilia, and from Ireland to Poland.
Oh, that's pretty much the whole of Europe. Yeah, that's.
And I was won't say like in the England side, so northwest.
Yeah.
If it's
which cities are there?
The biggest city might be Ahmedabad, Rajkot, but you might know them. Mumbai is is a few thousands kilometers away. But Mumbai, before called
Bombay,
there were four big cities. Chennai, Madras, called before Calcutta, New Delhi, and Mumbai, called Bombay earlier. So, but this is so now going to India is going to a country I know.
Like home. Nice.
But going to Uganda feels even more like the smell. And
you are still African.
I went to my nursery. Wow. It's still there.
This is in Lugazi still.
Lugazi, well, it was closed, but then we went there with the camera, so this.
My Ugandan friends are gonna be thrilled.
So they were looking. They some teachers were there and said, "What are you doing here with the camera?" corner, and we said, I said, I'm from 72. I was here. Oh,
Good
she said, oh, come in. And I said, oh, can we have a look? Oh, sure. Today is a holiday week, but we are working here. But sure, and take it. So she guided through, and then and I had bits of pieces of remembering, and then the colony we used to live, the house. So everything is recorded. He's been there. Talk with the people who lived in the house. They said, you're welcome to come in the house.
Come and see.
This was your house before. And you want to make a picture or whatever. So, doors open when you're authentic there, not like, we're not there to demand our things. We're just there to see, and people are not threatened, right? They might think, they might want the house. Nobody wants that. But just to be there and share with you and be there for a moment, it's very important.
Wow. Do you still have pieces of Uganda, maybe? Probably not, so no.
I have this funny thing that, like my father, when I go to India or Uganda, I collect the earth and I take it with me.
Ah, amazing.
Because that's where we come from, right?
That's where we come from.
So, and Ugandan earth is very rare.
It's rare. Oh, it's beautiful.
It's rare
so beautiful.
So it's
fertile, very
rich.
And
so it is always very. I'm always astonished how red it is. It's like someone colored it red. It's so red. You don't see it anywhere.
No, you don't.
And Uganda is really one of a kind.
One of a kind. Absolutely.
Maybe I hear that from people from Congo. They say it's same here as well. Huh? People from Congo.
Yeah. The East African plain. It's quite. Yeah, because it's always raining. It's quite fertile.
It's green and red. It's like really heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And the people, very soft-hearted people of East African people.
I tell you, we had a wonderful time. I went with, I think we were about 15 Zimbabweans. We really enjoyed Uganda. It was absolutely fantastic.
Went to Kampala?
It was beautiful. Yeah, it was just. It's my favorite place.
Kampala is very famous for its built on 7 hills. So from every hill you have a different point of view. And you have the Rubabaga church, there's a mosque on high level. So from every religion is there. There's a Hindu temple. It's very diverse.
Know that there were so many religions until I came here.
Very diverse. Very diverse. Yeah.
Well, speaking of religion, are you religious yourself?
I would not say religious, I would say spiritual.
Spiritual.
Yeah, that resonates more into me. Like, religion is more into like, are you this religion or that? But when you go, when you look life from a spiritual level, that's my thinking. Then you look beyond religion, more what connects us. And not like, you are this or I am that religion, and still we can connect. But when you go beyond religion, there's spiritualism, and I think that's more, you could say soul conscious, right? But then you're more on a level of people, and people are, there's no color difference, religion difference, or rich or poor.
Or poor, yeah.
Yeah, every person has a soul, and that's the ultimate form of being of people, right? And even more, not only people, I think everything has energy. We have energy. Call it soul or call it energy.
Yeah.
And if you can connect on that level, that's beyond. Otherwise, it can be you are this, I'm that, and often it polarized. Polarized. That happens in society. So,
that's beautiful.
I would call myself spiritual. Yeah.
But then your parents, I'm sure they were Hindu, as in
originally,
in terms of religion.
the Vedic religions. They are 5,000 years old. So before the Abrahamic religions.
Before the
and
Abrahamic,
if you say the Vedic, as they say, Vedic religion is very related to nature and the 5 elements. So this very, I wouldn't say it's religion. I would say it's more a way of life. That everything is connected.
Indian people don't say it's a religion.
No, and when you look at like Hinduism or Buddhism or Jainism, there are lots of
Yeah.
varieties in that.
Yeah.
They always have a source of spirit, and that we're all interconnections, and that we're all connected.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
more. It's more that, and you don't have to be from the religion, because anyway, anyhow, we are connected.
Yeah.
As humans.
Yeah.
And on soul level.
Yeah.
So that I think is a very brightening, a very affirmative, and very strong thought, and positive.
Very much.
It can bring humankind further.
Instantly. It works faster than
Then we
anything.
don't have these fights like in Ukraine, if you could look at that level.
Indeed.
You know, people have to flee their countries, or what happened, earlier everywhere.
Yeah.
It's very, but it's, you can't change the world in one day, but
No.
if you put yourself to that thought, and you do your work, and whatever you do with that positive thought, I think you can bring a change in your own environment.
Your sphere, yeah.
Where you have some.
I always say that to people, that how can you not be a change agent? Maybe not activist, because people feel like the word activist is a big thing. But to me, I'm always direct. How can you not be an activist with all
in
the
your own
issues
way?
that
There's not one way of activism. Of course, it's important to be at demonstrations, and to let hear yourself and your voice, and demand
the
right?
apology
Demand
from
the
the
right.
Dutch king would
Exactly.
have never come
That
if
didn't
the
come
young
like
people
this.
had not protested.
Exactly. But on the other hand, what happened when the king spoke? There was connection, right? And that was a human connection. That was, I think, like one human to another human.
I was reading the press. Many people were saying that.
Yeah, and I think it was genuine. And of course, this is a start.
It's a start.
Turning of a page. Let's say that.
Well, in our conclusion form, I'm glad we're now speaking about activism. We're both in the LGBT activism sphere, with the background that you have: India, Uganda, and now, of course, for me, Zimbabwe. What do you have to say? We have so many of my viewers are actually Ugandan, and they are sexual
Brothers
migrants. So it's tough times.
Exactly.
Tough times.
What you hear, I hear personal stories from people, devastating, in fear, totally denied as persons. It makes me very sad, to be honest. But we're privileged, we can live our lives in freedom and see what happens. So I think it's very important, like that we speak up. Also on international level, and that should be more, and not be afraid of what the consequences might be for the relations between countries. And if things has to be said, so, but I think on micro level, what can we do as community?
As communities,
And the community itself, I think. The Ugandan, the LGBT people who fled.
The community, we have to speak out. It's for me, I always say it's unavoidable.
But not only for Uganda, because what's happening in Ghana now, you see in Nigeria,
it's creeping in.
There's a setback in a lot of countries. And
before I came here today, I saw somebody tweeting that it's now heading into the Congo, and of course Kenya as well. Like, whoa, I didn't see it coming, but then. And
where does it come from? The source, you see, it's like the funding, and the funding from the Christian church. Yeah, the family value-oriented, the American church. And they, you saw this, the short documentary about Ghana, when people talk, they go to, in Utah, they're invited, and they can, family conferences of family values. For them it's important, okay, we can understand it, but they're actually bringing those Western ideas, I think, about gender and sexuality, while if we honest and we look to our African identity on sexuality and gender, and even in India, because I can say I'm from India also,
Yeah.
we have been more progressive before. And when I go to Uganda, I can't say much about Uganda because I went much more to later. I went much more to India, and that people, when you talk about LGBT, that people say yes, those are the things which are afflicted, that they came from the West. When the British came, they took all these stuff with them. We are not like that. That's not our values. But then I say, there's a lot of misinformation and non-information. Or misinformation, and I talk with be it my family or people I meet in India, and I have discussed because they ask, what do you do? And I say, well, I do a little bit of activism before, and now I'm doing something else, but I'm alert and I see all these processes in the world, and I talk about it. And they said yes, but they bought it. No, but it's not true, because when the British came in around 1850, they say we want Victorian law here, and probably it's
and instantly
probably it's this what you are doing.
People's grandfathers started being arrested.
Yeah. So it was other way around. We had a lot of freedom and of thinking of gender, sexuality, and non-binary, trans people, and everything was possible. Two-spirited people. But then the shaman, as they say, But the Native American, the Latin American, the Aboriginal people, and even lots of peoples and tribes in Africa, they have these. It has been thousands of years old. But then the British came and said, this is not possible. In our colony, we'll stop this by Victorian law. So these discussions I have with Indian people, and they just don't know. And then I say, do you know the Kama Sutra? And they say, yes, it's very old. It was before the British. Yes, it was certainly before the British. We are proud of the Kama Sutra. Have you read the Kama Sutra? Just after, yes. Then they say, tell me about it. And then I said, there are certain chapters about male with male encounters, on sexual and gender and swapping gender. It's all possible. And then they say, we didn't know that chapter. And that was long before the British came.
Way before.
And there is there are a few temples in Khajuraho, I believe they're the 13th, 14th century, before the British came, where the Kama Sutra is, as a spiritual energy. So it's not sexual energy, is also energy. There were, sculptures about, people being intimate, and on the outside of the temple. Also, the Kama Sutra is there.
I see. Wow.
And then you see also these things. So, and that was long before the British came. And nowadays, no Indian person, architecture, would think, let's build something like this. Now. No one. And then, so we were more progressive maybe earlier than now.
That's true.
So this is the truth. This is history. So when you talk with when I talk with Indian, so you have to, the records are wrong. The material is wrong, and what's written in the book is sometimes the history is not authentic, and it's very important. Actually, this is decolonizing our mind. We have got an invaders mindset. There were lots of invasions in India through 2,000 years. And now the British came at the end. They came also, and there's a lot of confusion and
the scramble for India was intense.
Yes, it has been always there. It's been plundered because there's a lot of gold, and it used to be one of the topmost economies 2,000 years ago, and everyone knew. So
I've seen somewhere that if you adjust for inflation, the British India's company made trillions from India
it was
alone.
The crown colony. So that means looted the most. Crown colony means in easy verbs, in words, most looted.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's history.
So
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
decolonize our mindset and getting the facts right
Getting the facts right.
and educating people,
Yeah.
decolonizing the mind.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
Well, then, with your activism work with COC, how was your family? How did they
My personal
respond?
well,
How was that journey?
Did I come out
Yeah.
as a queer person? Let me say so. I don't recall really coming out. Like coming out the closet. That's a very Dutch.
I always say the same thing.
Like
Yeah.
I said it to my family members, and I don't know if they understood it or misunderstood it, or it was like, okay, what's this? We don't know. It's the first time. What does it mean? It's like, it's also this getting the mindset right, but I don't know if I asked permission to I don't recall me asking permission of anyone.
Good.
Not even my father or mother.
With his strictness.
And coming from a very orthodox, strict, background.
I mean, what combination of Africa and India? What could be stricter than that?
Yeah. But I think my rebellious character, maybe when I was younger, especially, always asking a lot of questions, never satisfied, made that people could not easily go in discussion with me or say what you are doing is wrong, and if they would say so, I would say, okay, it hurts. I must say it hurts, but in the end, it's my life, and I think there was a time that I left home because I wanted to study, and I came to Amsterdam, and that was a relief because, like Dutch people, also left from the countryside and came to the Randstad, to study in Rotterdam or Amsterdam often, especially when you were queer. So that gave me also some distance, and that was my privileged position as a student. I must say, then you go to a big cities, your parents are in the countries, and they will never come here. So now you can explore your identity, who are you? You can have some experience. So that was very important. So I did not need my family for acknowledgement, and I was quite stubborn. I just did what I wanted to do. Nobody could stop me.
So and how old were you when you moved to the city?
I was young because I was 17. I was minor age.
Wow.
So my father said, "You can go, but go. Your sister already studies in Amsterdam at university, and then you can go and you can stay with your big sister. So she will be the mother." So she had a big student room. She had the bed, and I had the sofa come to bed, which was mine on the other side. And she didn't know what was going on.
Oh my goodness.
So I was having my own.
You were living in your own world.
I could explore. So thanks God. And my sister might have known. I don't know. But and the thing was, I was a boy. So for boys it's easier. You can come home late. Nobody asks you. In our culture,
or if you're with that guy, it's a friend.
Yeah, but when you're a girl and you come home late, then everyone would say, "Do you know what time it is?" And then so I could explore. So I was a late outcomer. Let's say I did my studies, etc., and then I started working, and then slowly I said, okay, let me explore more my sexuality, etc., and then I met my first friend, who could say my partner, my boyfriend, and then I think I had my diploma, and I invited him when I got my diploma. I invited him, and then my parents said, "Oh, yeah, lots of people, but who's that guy you're always standing with him?" Oh, I said, "Is this the only one who's going to come after this to our home?" And my mother said, "Okay, we got enough food, so he can."
Bring him
and then he came, and I think I never introduced him like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had 10 years relationship, and he came, and my mother knew he likes this chapati and this curry, and so
Chapati, I love
chapati and curry. And then if you sometimes, like the Western idea of acceptance is different than our idea
So different.
in our culture. When my mother and parents, when he comes with me,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother knows him after a few years and
Yeah.
knows he likes
Yeah.
this curry. If he comes, she will make
She
that
will
curry.
specifically make it, yes.
And then when we go, we get always this Indian doggy bag. You get always
To
plenty
take
for
home,
the
yeah,
next
yeah.
day. And then and if he's not there, she will give me extra. Like he didn't come today, so this is for your friend.
Oh, that's so.
Then you don't have
that's
to,
beautiful.
it's not a verbal way of saying.
Of saying, I know what this
and I
is.
accept.
Yeah.
But what more acceptance do I need? I can bring my partner at my parents' house.
Yeah.
My mother makes exactly the food he likes, and one day I was helping my mother in the
Yeah.
kitchen, and I was so feeling so happy. It was a small moment of feeling so happy. Then in the front room I hear my partner talking with about Uganda and about India with and my father can talk for hours about that. So he was talking for an hour with him, and I was just helping my mother because she was alone, so I said, let me help her. And then I felt so happy. It was a happy, good feeling.
I can
Like
imagine.
This is how it goes in our culture. I don't demand that you accept me. The way like putting it on the table and you have to eat it. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
In our culture, we have different values, and our communication is different.
That's beautiful. You're reminding me. I once dated a Ugandan guy long ago. His mother was literally cooking my favorite Ugandan food.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I haven't had this food in years. But we were
But
not.
okay, for you.
No, for me it's Ugandan rice.
Okay, wow.
I remember I was living in Southern Africa, so we don't have that quality rice. So like, oh my God, I haven't seen this rice in so long. This is incredible. I love this.
So it is. I think if you see like some happiness is in very small things which appear to be very big actually. So this they always, when I work with activists, in my work, people say like, we're not accepted, and sure we have to fight for the rights, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to micro levels, when you're in your neighborhood, and sometimes small things can make a difference.
Oh, what a big difference.
And with my family, I think my siblings said, oh, it's okay with us, and we don't mind you're queer or something that. I can take my partner to all my family members, and all my nieces and nephews who talk with my partner are very interested. And he said, oh, you've got a very interesting bunch of nice, fun, they are in their 30s now or 20s. So, and they accept me as I am.
Wonderful.
So I think maybe it's if you can accept yourself, it makes it easier.
Number one.
That other people can accept you. But when
That's
you
so
have a
true.
struggle, people feel the uneasiness.
Yeah.
People feel it.
They do. That's absolutely true. That's true.
So in the end,
because if you then bring your boyfriend home, if you're not comfortable, you're not even going to do that anyway.
But even if you do, you'll be there like, I'm here, but I'm not actually here. And he is here, but don't look at him. Or please accept him. Like, oh, please. You'll be very
tense.
And you'll be very like when you're in your own power, then if you do or not accept, it doesn't hurt you. It doesn't bring you off the line. That this mental framing and yourself is very important, I think.
It really is.
To be positive. That's what I mean. When we started this dialogue, I said being positive in life.
Yes.
But that starts with yourself.
It starts with yourself.
And usually people are waiting for other people to give acknowledgement and be positive. But it's about you have to give the first tone.
Indeed.
I think that's very important.
What a perfect way to close our
Thank you.
our beautiful talk. I hope people will be as inspired, and you know the journey. I love the journey that you've had. You know, it's quite interesting, and our stories, as you said earlier, they're very important. You know, we really need to share with the world our stories, and you know the humanity. You know, the connection, the spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that keeps you're always connected. Sometimes it does not feel like that for a moment, which is okay. But when you heal, it
You'll be
feels
just
connected.
When you heal, when you heal, you will be connected.
But you have to work on it.
You have to work
It doesn't
on
come
it.
like
It doesn't
that.
come on its own, no.
The effort's been made, but then surely you can
Yeah.
gain a lot of blessing in life. I would say.
Absolutely. Well, my last question, I call it a dandruff question, which makes your head scratch a little, or maybe it might not. Choose one: London or Amsterdam?
Where I feel myself the best, you mean?
Yes. Between the two.
London is nice to be back, but I don't long for London.
Mm-hmm,
And when I'm there after 2-3 weeks, I said, "Oh, I want to go home."
You wanna go home.
So Amsterdam.
Amsterdam takes
But
the
Holland
crown.
is okay because I've been my longest part of life.
Yeah.
I've been in this country,
Mhm.
and I must say,
Mhm.
my father,
Mhm.
he always said, whatever happens,
Mhm.
and we are in a white country, you know,
Mhm.
we are not originally from here.
Mhm.
Everything is okay. But
Mhm.
this was the country who invited us, and never,
Mhm.
never forget that.
Mhm.
So you know, stay on track and give back to you know. So don't do anything wrong. Don't do anything wrong in your life for yourself or this country. But it was like, but you know, when you do something, when you do everything right for yourself, then the country will benefit also, right?
Definitely.
So, but actually, he said, well, have gratitude.
Yeah.
But of course, and you can be critical. For I am.
Mhm.
I ask a lot of questions, as I said.
Mhm.
But still, in the end, I'm grateful. I'm living here because I'm living a comfortable life here. I'm aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Being
And a
aware of
privileged life, and
privilege.
we really are. We really have to say that every day to ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then hope that other people also can, you know, it's not like having and keeping it for ourselves. Is it, what can we share with
What
them?
can be shared?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And you know, and I, with my work as with the COC and what I do
Yeah.
freelance also, or as a volunteer, often it's like doing bits and pieces. Maybe you know,
Yeah.
it's not much, I can say, but you're doing something, and if everyone does that in combination, you can move mountains
Indeed.
together.
That's beautiful. Rohit, thank you so much. And oh, by the way, we brought you back home, a full circle moment. You literally used to live upstairs where we are at the newest studio.
When we came here, right, I said, Peter Nieuwlandstraat, I know the street. And I said, no, but I used to live
You
there.
used to live there.
So when I came here and I looked at the number, I thought that would be somewhere on the other side. But then I was walking towards the door where I used to come for 2 years.
Yeah.
And now literally it's a second floor here upstairs.
Incredible. In the Indian neighborhood of Amsterdam.
The Indie suburb, yeah, the Indonesian Indonesian
It's
neighborhood,
Indonesian.
yeah, Indonesian.
Okay.
But it's a nice, Amsterdam East is a nice part of Amsterdam. A very multicultural, so feels like home.
Feels like home.
Yes, yeah.
Well, Rohit, thank you so much for
Thank you
being
for
here.
inviting me.
It's been a nice conversation. I hope the people enjoyed it as much as we had. We've been planning this for a very long time. There was Corona in between, and then so
Finally we made it.
so glad you made it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, thank you so much for watching as usual. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share. Of course, my Ugandans, here is a different story of Uganda you might not have heard. Otherwise, feel free to contact me or Rohit. We'll put the link down below if you want to have some spiritual guidance. We need it. Rohit, thank you so much.
Thank
Till
you.
next time, guys.
Bye-bye.
Abantu. Oh, you know Abantu, yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Abantu. Bye.